Every time you work on something, make sure you remove the batteries first. All right, so this is how you change the starter on a 2012 Chevy Impala. Basically, the first thing you want to do, this is going to be a step-by-step video, is you're going to remove these 4 screws here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you're going to have this clip here that's attached to this top. You're going to press down and remove. And then you're going to remove this piece here that's connected, which is you just press this plastic, press it down, and pull, and it'll pop right out. Once you remove that, you got this next. Okay, so the way to remove this is you're gonna have 3 screws. You're gonna have 1 screw right here, right here. You're gonna have another screw right underneath it, right there. So there's gonna be 2 screws. And then you see this 3rd screw right here? There it is, right there at the top. That one right there. That's the 3rd screw. So that's the 3rd screw right there, okay? And then that's gonna come off. And then we're gonna go to the next show here, which I'm gonna show you here, 1 second. And then you're gonna, once you remove this piece right here, on the back end, there's this right here that goes like that, okay? Which this piece here goes right in between, like that, okay? It goes right in between, and you'll see the screws. So once you take this piece off, you'll see this stick in there. Just make sure you put the gasket back, okay? And then the next step is basically taking off these screws right here. You have 4 of them. These are 15 millimeter bolts. You got 1, 2, 3, and another one right here at the bottom, which is 4. Okay, 4 15 millimeters. You need a larger socket to get into them. You don't necessarily have to take off this oxygen sensor right here. It can stay on. And once you get these off, the next thing I'll show you right after. All right, so now that we got the screws off, as you can see, the screws are off. These 2 remained. It just depends, right? Some of them will screw off. Some of them will come completely off, right? So some of them you'll just have the nut come off, and some of them will come completely off, so don't worry. Either way, you're gonna be able to put them back together. All right, so once we get this off, the next step I will show you right now is to go underneath and unscrew. So I don't know if I can get it. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So you see right there, that is underneath, okay? You have 2 screws under there. I'll get a closer picture here. I'm gonna jack it up. So this will require a jack. Get under the vehicle. Okay, we're getting under the vehicle right now. Here, there are gonna be 2 screws right here. You see this pipe? I have an oil leak, don't mind that, but you see this long pipe going this way? All right, you're gonna see 2 screws. These are the 2 screws you have to remove underneath, okay? All right, 2 screws. Remove these 2, okay? And then we'll go to the next phase. Remove those screws. You're gonna have a gasket like this. See this gasket right there? That gasket. Make sure you put that back. This is just gonna pop off. Okay, and then the bottom one that I unscrewed as well, right down there, okay? Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna wiggle this off. Well, I'll need 2 hands for it in a little force, but you're gonna wiggle it off, take this off, and then pull it up and just put it to the side. I'll show you here one second. So you see, I was able to wiggle it off. Even at the bottom, it came off. There's a gasket right there, so just make sure you put that back into place. I got it off. Now this will give me enough access for the starter, which is right there at the bottom. You see it? That is the starter right there. Okay, and the way to get to the starter is just basically you have a screw. Let me see if I can show you. You see that screw right there? That's one screw, and then one is right underneath. There you go, you see it. See the screw right under there. Actually, let me remove this gasket so you can see a little more clear. Okay, so you see that main screw right there. And then you see the screw right under that black piece. Let me see if I can point it for you guys while I got you on camera. Okay, so you got this screw, and then there's that screw right there. Yep, you see it now. It's right under there behind that hole right there. And you can get to those. It's not gonna be a problem. Just need a wrench, and I think it's a 13 or 15 millimeter. Again, the reason I don't remove the whole exhaust is because I don't want to remove this oxygen sensor, and I don't want to remove that bottom oxygen sensor. So I just stay away from that, okay? So that way you just wiggle it off, it'll give you enough room to get into it. This is also very important before removing the starter. There's a knock sensor, which is located right there. You see it right there? You see that screw to your left? Let me show you. That one right there. Okay, you have to remove that screw, take out that knock sensor, because if you don't, when you pull off the starter, you can damage the knock sensor, and now you got to replace that as well. So always be safe, remove that. Okay. All right, so once you get off the knock sensor, you can see it's off. You can just move it on to the side. This sensor right here. See? Just move it on over to the side over there. And just make sure the nut doesn't come out. And now you just remove that screw there and remove those two bottom screws, which you see I almost got them off. Once those two screws are removed, I'm gonna remove this screw. Then you're just gonna turn it clockwise your way. And there's another, what do you call it? Just a plug on the starter, and you're just gonna unplug it. That's it. All right. As you can see, the starter is off, and here's my brand new one. Gonna put this one together right now. All right, now I'm putting the new starter in. As you can see, the first thing I like to do is put that screw in there, and then I like to have it solid, and then it gives me a base foundation to work on. So put that screw in, unscrew the top, get those two cables back in. Make sure you plug one of them, and then the other one just comes up over the top, and the red cable goes right here over the top. Basically the same way that you installed it, that you removed it is the same way that you install it. And then of course lastly you'll put the knock sensor in, and yeah, we'll just everything after that is just going backwards to the way that you installed it. So I mean the way that you dismantled it, going backwards to mantle it. All right, stay tuned. All right guys, so the easiest way to get the bottom in, talking about the exhaust right there, the easiest way to get that in is when you're adjusting this up here, you're gonna lift and put pressure down onto the bottom exhaust right there. When you put pressure down, make sure that your screws that come on the exhaust are pinched in like this. Well, okay, say this is the exhaust. Your screws are coming in. You got these two holes. You're gonna have to put pressure with your screws onto the bottom exhaust. And when you do that, do you see where you have to have your oxygen sensor right here at the bottom? Okay, you see that bottom oxygen sensor that's at the very bottom of your exhaust, right? You see how you have one up here, and then you have one right down there? Well, that one has its own slot that it has to sit in. There's no plug or anything, you just have to make sure it sits in the proper slot. When you get it in the proper slot, you're just gonna put pressure onto the exhaust as you're putting with the screws, as you're aligning it. Once you align it properly in there, it will just hit and then you'll see that it will connect perfectly at the top. If you don't have a good connection perfect like this at the top, you know that you're doing it wrong, and that probably your oxygen sensor over there at the bottom, right there, that oxygen sensor is in the way. So just make sure it's in the oxygen sensor, it sits in its own pocket, and then you'll be able to put that pressure onto the bottom exhaust with the screws that are built into the exhaust, and that will allow you to set it perfectly, and it'll just connect. Boom. Once it connects, it'll just sit in just like that. All right, that's a hack you guys have to know. Now we're gonna do a test, make sure it starts up. Just like that, we are up and running, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you gotta do.